What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up? Welcome back to Rebel Radio. I'm your host, Josh Levine. My guest today in studio is my man, Bua. He is noted painter, graffiti artist. If you've seen his work, the DJ is one of the top-selling posters of all time, probably hanging in a lot of your bedrooms when you were younger. He's also a professor of art at USC. He teaches art, he does art for corporations, he sells art. This man he lives and breathes his art. He's gonna give us some wise wisdom, and it's one of the more academic episodes. We get into Rembrandt, Goethe, Picasso. He tells us about maybe the first graffiti battle between Michelangelo and Leonardo, not the Ninja Turtles. Good stuff in this episode. I hope you enjoy it. We're gonna learn some lessons along the way. He gives us some great stories about just never giving up, about sucking and having everybody tell you suck, and just not being any good, and just never stop working. Keep at it until you make something happen. And also some really good business lessons about knowing where your money comes from. He's gonna kind of teach us how he does that and how you can do that. And now, let's hear from Justin Bua. Dude, thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk to you, as we were saying, like
Jew to Jew.
Jew to Jew. It's the Jew corner.
Jew corner.
So I've known your work for a long time, and I dig it. And I even just doing some research, I was learning like how much different stuff you're into, which I think is really interesting.
Like what? What have you learned? I didn't talk about bisexuality or anything, did I?
Bestiality.
Okay, I'm definitely not into that.
No.
Because I'm allergic.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason.
Right.
Which is weird.
No, you get the cat hair.
It's the dander.
Yeah.
That makes me.
That's right. It's not the hair, it's the dander.
Yeah, otherwise, who knows?
Who knows? That's good, man. It keeps you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. I'm conservative by default.
Right.
Yeah.
That's important, man. We need boundaries.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can't set them for ourselves, so we
They're
need a
set
little
by
bit of help.
allergens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Set by being Jewish.
I'm sure that's true.
That's for sure.
I'm sure.
But what have you learned? Things
Well,
you didn't know. What was I into?
I'm not gonna tell you yet, but
Okay.
But here, this is what I find so interesting about your art. And we've had a bunch of art guys on the show, a lot of graffiti cats.
Okay.
But you're like, I think of you as like, the music and art are maybe more closely linked than almost anybody else. And like, I think of your art as music, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, I'm curious where that came from. Like, were you just super into music growing up?
No, well, I think it comes from my dancing, because I was a professional b-boy and popper for many years.
Is that right?
And so
How'd you get into that? Just in school?
This is growing up in New York, around the culture on the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
What we like to call the Upper Best Side of New York. And there's just a lot of people, I was around like Wiggles and Crazy Legs. And
Right.
A block away from Ken Swift. And,
Bobito's from Upper West Side.
he's from my block.
Yeah.
Like, so you know what I mean?
Show him and Stretch.
Yeah, so that's like that. That's my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Rocksteady Park is 2 blocks away.
Nice.
I watch all these guys dance.
Yeah.
Douglas projects, and just actually it's felt weird because I grew up next to Kenny, and I always used to see them practice, but it wasn't until I went to West 4th Street that I saw some California brother do the bicycle.
Is that right?
And no one does that anymore, by the way. No one does that move where it looks like you're riding a bicycle.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's so old
I
school.
remember that shit. Yeah.
It's like some mime shit.
Yeah.
And it was so, I was so blown away. I said, I don't know what that is, but I have to be a part of whatever that is.
So how old are you now?
48.
No, I'm sorry. How old were you at that
10.
point? 10.
10 years old.
Okay.
So 38 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then I just started practicing. And I was like, became obsessed. So like I became obsessed, compulsive, and did it every day, practiced every day, found some kids from my neighborhood, and we all dance and tried to get into Rocksteady crew and wasn't good enough. So I danced with the Rock Boys, who was like an offset of the Rocksteady crew.
Right.
Our Rocksteady crew is like the elite.
Yeah.
So then I danced with the Bean. It was like playing the minor leagues of the projects.
Yeah.
So I was in the minor leagues, and then
So you got into dance before the music, kind of? Is that?
I mean, it was hand in hand. It was like, you know, I was always listening to, you know, the Treacherous 3 and Fearless 4. And
what's the first record you remember or that you bought?
the first record I bought is corny, and I don't like to admit it, but it would be Sugar Hill Rapper's Delight.
Okay.
But that's corny because I know the story of, like, you know, Kaz was the original writer and he got cut out, and Sylvie Robinson produced it and it was a ripoff. But still,
but that record
was big.
was undeniable at the time. It's still undeniable.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
So it was the hip hop, hippie to hop that I bought, and that was the beginning. And then I was like, but I was getting before that was vinyl. Mm-hmm. You did say records. I felt vinyl.
Oh yeah, sure.
But then before that was like I was getting tapes. I was getting like Love Bug, Starsky Verse.
Yeah, like mixtapes.
Yeah, mixtapes.
Yeah.
And there was guys in my neighborhood that used to sell mixtapes, and so I would just kind of get them and listen. And of course, you know, I would listen to WBLS or Red Alert, Goes Berserk, all of that, like that radio stuff that was happening. I listened to all that. All my friends listened to it, and then just live shit. Mm-hmm. You know, shit that was like happening in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So but it was really the energy and the rhythms of dance that affected the rhythm. I knew how important rhythm was and gesture was, and then I was also very influenced by classical painting because my mother was a painter and my grandfather was a very successful letterer.
Oh wow!
So he did like Prince Valiant and Felix the Cat.
Nice.
So all my friends that were writing graffiti, I was like, oh my God, my grandfather would burn you, and he's 70. You know, like, and that's, you know, I did graffiti and I wasn't even good, but I knew what great was, and it was like more than like Futura and Dondi and all these guys in my neighborhood. I was like, my grandfather Herbert Hirschfeld, the old Jew, would burn you. Like, because he could just do like stone 3D letters in like 5 minutes that were just ridiculous and like big and you know, ice letters and just.
You know what's interesting
shit.
though? You say that like the way you say it. You know, I had I think it was Slick on the show, and we were talking about.
I love Slick.
Slick's
I've
the
collabed
man.
with him on a couple of pieces.
Nice. But we were talking about the value. Like graffiti is, to my knowledge, the only art form that involves a battle, like visual art, right? That involves a battle, and we were talking about
a battle between
like a real time,
right?
Like because you know we're talking about Slick versus Hex, when they did that,
Sure.
And just like you know, the value of that as an artist,
That's
as
actually
a
not
creator.
true though.
Okay,
So here's a little historical.
Give me some more.
Knowledge.
Rembrandt
So-
and
No, it wasn't Rembrandt.
I don't know
Rembrandt
who.
was on his own,
okay,
fucking his maid.
Rembrandt was a fucking baller.
Rembrandt
I'm a
was,
big
by the way,
Rembrandt
Rembrandt's
fan.
the greatest painter of all time.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better. I don't care who you are. It just ends at Rembrandt.
Yeah.
You could be John Singer Sargent, you could be Zorn, but it really ends at Rembrandt. So
Nice.
it's like, just stop it. Like, so like the Pope Julius II used to do really weird shit. Like he pitted Michelangelo against Leonardo to do frescoes.
Like the
on,
Ninja Turtles?
Like, on opposite ends in the Vatican.
Is that right?
Like, so yeah, like one hallway was here, and then like right next to him was Leonardo. So Michelangelo, and they hated each other. And Michelangelo really hated Leonardo. Leonardo was not a hateful person, obviously, by his work and by his beliefs and his, you know, he was a incredible thinker and philosopher and vegan and animal rights activist. He was just like a spiritual,
right?
Not like Michelangelo
I
was
knew
a
they
spiritual.
had vegans back then.
Yeah, he was a vegan. Yeah,
Wow.
He once let out all the animals that were in the pet store. He just didn't believe in any
I
kind
know
of
they
animal.
had pet stores either. See, that's how
Yeah,
ignorant I
I
am.
know. Yeah, they did. So he was pit against Michelangelo. So it was like a battle of,
Wow.
okay, you guys are the best. Let's see
Right.
who's going to get the commission.
Yeah.
That was happening all the time. Like
Wow.
people were battling for commissions, whether
Okay.
it was Rubens, Raphael, Titian, Correggio, you know, like these people were battling for commissions. So it's not like it's an old.
Sure.
You know, it's not like it's not an old construct. It is. in fact, the word graffiti means cartoon in Italian. And Michelangelo, before he paints the Sistine Chapel, does a graffiti cartoon that he grids out on the wall and paints. That's what it is.
That's interesting.
So yeah, it's got good roots. But yeah,
Well,
later on, it wasn't really happening.
But clearly in the modern era, like, so if you're coming up in pretty much any other visual medium today, like you don't have this opportunity to battle and really prove yourself real time against the clock and another human being. And so, I was just wondering, like, the value of that, like what that does to your art and your creative process to be in that sort of hyper competitive environment.
It does a lot. I didn't really experience it with graffiti besides like black books and my friends being better than me and me not being as good as everybody. Yeah. And art too. Like I went to an art high school and I was like, why is everyone better than me? So there was kind of an impetus to work harder because of that.
Yeah.
But
is that how you took it?
Yeah, I took it as a challenge.
That can go either way, right?
Yeah, you could be defeated. But I had a mother who was really positive, and I had a lot of teachers who were really negative. So I had a lot of like, you should stop painting, you're not ready yet.
Really?
You should stop drawing, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
My friends are like, your shit's so whack, bro. And I'd be like, no, but I'm trying. They were like, oh my God, you're so bad. Like a lot of that, And
but not that
but that's
nice,
how kids.
I'm sure. Not that nicely.
No, not nicely. No. They were like, you're skinny and you suck. And you're like, whatever. It's just part of how kids are. We were ruthless. Sure. We were brutal to each other.
Of course.
I went to school on 137th Street and Common Avenue in the depths of Harlem, and my that neighborhood there was pretty nasty, and the people were very nasty and competitive because music and art was a very competitive art high school. Yeah. So I grew up with that, but more the b-boying was obviously competitive, and so I was very used to battling. So I battled all the time. So I had a battle head. I had a battle mentality. Yeah. I knew how to win. I knew how to be funny and weird and clever and ironic with my body. Yeah. And so I was able to kind of translate that with my art. And I knew how important, like once again, circling back to rhythm and gesture, fluidity was. The body is primarily water. We're primarily made up of water. So if you look at us as a moving, creature of blood and water, you have to think about why are people drawing anything stiff whatsoever, And so I think that a lot of artists kind of overlook the importance of gesture and rhythm and how it all relates back into the earth you walk on, even to the architectural structures that you're dealing with, because they're still organic compounds. So I like to think of architecture too as undulating terracotta.
That's way too deep for me.
Well, I'm tripping on mushrooms right now, so no, I'm kidding. So no, I feel like the landscape is like I always say that Goethe, the architect and poet, said that architecture is frozen music. So I say that okay, well, if architecture is frozen music, then the Bua architecture has been defrosted because it moves to its own energy, and the rhythm of hip hop that I grew up around had its own energetic rhythm that was related to the social climate and atmosphere of the time, that the kids started to manifest through moves. It was like, we're not going to take it anymore. Like it was hard. It was like percussive. It was really intense. It was very male. It was very, it was almost misogynistic in a way, where it was like, let me move in a way that is dance but male, so I don't get any kind of criticism, and I can be cool. Of course. So the girls are going to look and be like, "Oh my God, that's like a war dance to open my flower," and then the guys will look at it like, "Oh shit, he's like fighting, but he's moving his body, and he's not breaking out any like, knives or guns. He's just kind of doing it." So the dance was cultivated in my mind's eye in a way that was so male and cool and reflective of the spirit of the times, Reaganomics and New York City just being a fucking hot mess of the wild. It was like the Wild Wild West, Dodge City, but New York, and so it embodied all of that.
Yeah, Reagan said it was like Beirut.
Yeah. So
when he was in South Bronx, he came to the South Bronx and said it was like Beirut.
Certainly different.
Which he helped to create.
Certainly different than Hollywood, that's for sure.
A little bit, yeah.
I remember chanting, Reagan, Reagan, he's no good, send him back to Hollywood, when he was marching in the streets.
That's right.
For election.
It's funny you say that, the fighting piece, because I remember like when breaking came to San Francisco. I was in middle school, and like it felt like there was a lot less fighting for about 2 years and more like b-boy battles.
Yeah,
And
it
then-
was a good supplement
Yeah,
because it was hard enough and cool enough and.
yeah, yeah. You could still
Thank
serve
God,
somebody.
by the way, because I was a horrible fighter. So perfect for me.
Yeah,
Girls
I
would be like, I would have sex with him because he could probably fight. I was like, actually, I can't. But like I was cool, like I
Right.
looked like I could. Because when
Yeah.
you were a b-boy, you looked like you could fight. And
sure.
some of the b-boys could, by the way. Like some of those
'Cause,
guys were
I
like
mean, you're in the
golden
streets
gloves.
and you got like,
Yeah, they were having fights. They were
Yeah.
like real fighters. I just wasn't.
yeah.
Now I am, which is really weird.
Is that right?
Well, I do jujitsu
Oh, cool.
every 3 days a week.
Nice.
I hit mitts, but I don't like to get hit. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm not a
It's
fighter.
not that much fun.
But I do a lot of jujitsu because my daughter's, she trains 7 days a week.
Did you learn from her, or like you picked it up through her?
No, I started jujitsu in 1992. I did it for about a year and a half, and then I stopped. I tore my deltoid, my shoulder, and then I just picked it up a couple of years ago. 10th Planet with Eddie Bravo.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm now a blue belt, which I know means nothing, but something.
Means
It's-
what it
I feel-
means.
yeah, it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I really like it. I love
Yeah.
it, and it's fun. But my daughter's like, she's just a kind of prodigal 12-year-old,
Wow.
like wrestles and does jujitsu 7 days a week, all
That's
day
amazing.
long. She's a freaking savage. I have to
Yeah.
do it now so like that I don't get tapped by her. So it's more of a, keeping up with the Jones, not to get
Sure.
dominated by
Yeah, yeah,
your own
that's-
flesh and blood, which would suck because she's very pretty and it would really not be a good look.
It'll
for me.
happen.
I think it will happen, but it's going to be a while. She's got to get
Yeah, that's
a
good. You
lot
gotta
more
keep-
mass and
You gotta
size.
keep, yeah, for sure. You got.
But she's so technical. Like one little wrong move and she can heel hook me.
nice.
That's the level. It's like woo,
Wow.
like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So when, at a certain point, you had to start feeling like you're good at this.
Jiu-jitsu?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, so I don't feel that yet.
No.
I'm kidding.
Art.
I was.
Was there a moment?
I was always being ridiculed in school. I was at public school, and I had a group of kids who were really good at comic book shit. And they were like, "Oh, you're not good." And I was like, "Well," and I didn't like comics, which is really
Right.
weird. Like, I didn't like comics.
Yeah.
And they were drawing like superheroes and shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
I liked Crumb,
Okay.
but I didn't like Marvel
but
and
like
DC.
Marvel,
Yeah,
DC.
but I didn't like Batman, but they were doing like foreshortening and
Yeah.
really cool Batman characters and shit. And I was like doing really weird, like homeless people with guns and buildings.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's okay, but it's not really, look at this. And I was like, yeah, that is kind of cool. And how do you do the foreshortening? And they were just better.
Right.
And so I had a teacher, I don't want to mention his name because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but Steve Ettinger, who said in his piece of shit way, you see these kids around you in class, they really know how to draw and paint. They were copying, doing like master copies of like Michelangelo. This is in 6th grade.
Yeah.
He said, you're never going to be good, and you should probably stop because you can't do this. And I was like, I know that I can though, but I know I just don't have a natural talent for it. It was like really weird because I was very creative, but I wasn't naturally gifted with observational drawing, which is like representational drawing. So I knew at that age how important it was for me to get good at that because I wasn't natural at it. It was a white guy sprinting. White guys can't sprint. You got to really work at it. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know what you mean, but like I'm amazed.
You felt really offended by that. I felt like you feel like
Oh, me?
you can sprint.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a sprinter.
Are you?
No.
Okay,
I'm,
exactly.
I'm like the
That's my
world's
point.
slowest sprinter.
Okay, but
That's my distinction.
you're just not going to be, you have to work harder at it when you're not gifted at it.
Yeah.
That's a fact. So I had to work harder at representational painting and drawing, and that's what I did.
Well, I'm stuck on something.
Steve Ettinger
Yeah.
and his piece of shit, Words to a Child.
But
Dog, he's probably dead. Don't worry about it. He's dead.
But like, we live in this environment. I know you're a father, and like where, there's so much emphasis on positive reinforcement feedback to our
Not
kids.
in New York in the 70s.
No, but that's what I'm saying, right? But now that's kind of, and I have a 7-year-old, and there's that like, but how amazing, like for people to just come at you that way. And,
Oh, that was not the first teacher.
No, I'm sure.
Mrs. Weinbaum used to hit us.
Yeah.
She used to fucking hit us,
Yeah.
straight hit us. Like, Mrs. Weinbaum was my 5th grade teacher, and she would straight smack us in the face
Yeah.
and hit us with a ruler. That was normal. That was a PS87.
Right.
And that was normal.
Yeah,
It was
now they
weird
go to
because she
jail
came
for
from
that.
like the 50s.
Right.
Where that's what
Where
she
that's-
came up doing.
Where
And
your
it-
parents would hit you if they found out your teacher was hitting you.
Yeah, exactly,
Like, you
right.
know.
And now it'd be like, oh my God, if a teacher hits anybody,
No, they'll be in jail.
they're in jail.
Yeah.
But back then it was normalized. And so
sure.
I was still getting, I mean, wasn't still getting hit, but I was getting hit by Miss Weinbaum for sure.
But so look, here's what I'm wondering. I mean, that sucks. That's a shitty human being.
Yeah,
But
but my father got hit by the nuns.
no, I get it.
My
but-
uncle got beat by the priests.
No,
It was kind
I
of
get it.
like,
But here's what I'm wondering: was that kind of feedback, looking back now, was that helpful?
I mean, I was so out of control in 5th grade. I probably.
I'm not talking about the hitting.
Okay,
I'm
'cause
talking about the, like,
I'm sorry. I'm having a therapy.
No.
meeting. Are we in therapy? No, I'm
Do you wanna lay
I'm on a
down?
radio show.
That's why we have a
Yeah.
couch.
Sorry.
No, not the hitting.
Yes.
The telling you suck at art.
It was
that
it was
was-
it was one of those
Can you
feelings.
look back now and see that?
It's horrible.
was
Yeah, because I
value
was
in
a
that, or
professor at
was
USC
just-
for 12 years, and
Yeah.
anybody that sucked at art, I would never tell them that. That's so mean. It's very it's not, and it's also not honest because
Right.
it's relative. Your
Mm-hmm.
sucking at art could be different. And I've seen kids that, let's say, suck at art or are not as qualified or as good naturally, who've come up and gotten so much better. And they pass the kids with hard work, and that's what happened with me.
Yeah.
It was a motivator. I had a lot of fuck you energy, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
motivator to work harder. And I had a teacher who was the principal of my music and art school, which was LaGuardia High School of Music and Performing Arts, fame.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna live forever.
Nobody listening knows what that is. Just me.
I had the head of the art department was Miss Denber.
Okay.
I wanted to enter the scholarship, which was the Mark Rothko scholarship. Every year I said, do you think I should enter? And she was like, no. I was like, okay, because all my friends are entering. She's like, yeah, but no, you're not really ready. I was like, okay, fine. So senior year, I say, I'm going to enter this scholarship. It's the Mark Rothko Scholarship for the most outstanding artist in the 5 boroughs of New York. And she said, I don't think you should. And I was like, why? I'm doing all this creative shit.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better at drawing, and I'm hanging out with kids who are, they're better than me. But I know that I'm also better than some of these other kids. Like, there's no way I'm bottom of the barrel. Like, and I'm really creative, and some of my friends are liking my work, and some of my teachers are nice to me now. I'm putting in a lot of effort. And she's just like, you're just not ready. And I said, but, like, every year I come to you, and every year you say I'm not ready. So I'm a senior. So when am I gonna be ready?
Yeah.
Like, I'm at the ceiling.
Right.
And she's like, well, I don't think so. I said, fuck. I just knew, like, fuck her, So I told my mom, and I said, Mom, Miss Denber said I'm not ready to enter the scholarship, and I don't really have the money, and if you give me the money, I could enter, but she's saying I'm not ready, I don't know what to do. And she said, she told you you're not ready? I said, yeah. She said, fuck her. I'll give you the money. I entered the scholarship, I won.
Nice.
The most outstanding artist in the 5 boroughs of New York. So she's standing with me, and all the pictures, like, I always knew it, you know what I mean? And I was like, bitch, please, like, I was wearing a pink jacket, by the way, so it's just
And those people probably
weird pictures.
tell themselves that like that's the right thing to do. That they were pushing you.
Yeah, and then years later, she had me come speak at
Right.
Music and Art.
Yeah.
When I got, like, famous.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like, why would anyone dissuade anyone from doing anything like that, especially when, you're at an art high school, and I just feel like it was weird because she had her favorites. She had her Tristan Elwells and her Maggie Byers and her Matthew Chamberlains, which is fine. It's great. Like, and they were all really good at the time. But the reality is, like, never tell somebody that you can't. That's just not healthy for anybody to tell anybody that you can't. If they don't work hard, that's fine. So, you need to put in work, you're lazy, whatever, put in more work. And if they don't, then okay, hey, you don't want to do it. Like, for me, my students, if they didn't put in the hard work, I'll leave you alone. I'm not going to, like, tell you you're fucking scrub. But she just would tell me and that I wasn't qualified enough, and I proved her wrong. And I knew that at that moment on, it gave me a lot of momentum.
For sure.
Like, it was like a catapult. A lot of, like, you know what, no matter what anybody says out there, and I've continually had that my entire career, as probably most artists have, no matter what anybody says out there, you have to listen to your own inner artist and say, I am good enough to do that. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you can't be critical and you can't think that you've arrived. Like I once heard Shepard Fairey when he was giving a speech at a museum say that after I figured out drawing and painting, I was like, well, how can anyone say that? Like, that's so confusing. Michelangelo was 81 when he said, I'm just beginning to learn how to draw. So it's like, I don't really understand anybody who even thinks that they're great. Like, that doesn't resonate with me because, like, maybe because I've been beaten down by the Mistembers and the Steve Ettingers of the world, and I know that, like, what greatness is, which is Rembrandt. Because you know if Rembrandt's the ceiling, you should pretty much know your place.
But also,
so there's a fine line between that and Mistember saying you can't.
Sure. But also I think, like, you know, it depends on your reference. Like, for you, the reference is Rembrandt, is right.
Right.
Not everyone sees it that way, and I'm not saying, like...
So, like, some people say that I'm their reference. I've heard that all the time. I'm like, you're delusional. I should not be your ceiling.
Okay.
Because there's Sargent, and there's Rembrandt, and there's Raphael, and there's Michelangelo, and there's artists that are really incredible. I mean, that's very nice and flattering, but I'm also very realistic.
So winning that award, was that like the first sort of real sort of validation? Maybe it sounds like mom gave you some along the way, but that was like...
Well, I think my mom was very...
Feeling like
my mom was very positive early on and then became negative later.
Yeah.
You know, and then decided...
That's good.
She was like, I'm going to really...
No, you got like pull the tablecloth.
Yeah, she was like, you're really slacking and you're not good enough and you're whatever. I mean, she called me lazy in many ways, but...
Nice.
Yeah. But, I think that was... There was a lot of negativity with what I was doing.
So when did you feel like, I can do this for a living, like this is going to be my path?
It was right before I went to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena when I was transferring out of a school called Hampshire College. I was an English major because I felt like my mom was like, you need a more well-rounded education. You're drawing too much. And I was like, I got in on a literature program, and I was always writing, but I was illustrating my own writing. And I knew at that moment I just wanted to paint and draw all the time. And so I came back. My mom had moved from Brooklyn to Northern California. I came back to Northern California, and I painted and I drew all the time, and I knew that that's what I really wanted to do. So I got into Art Center, and I was like, I'm going to make a career of this. And I'm going to be great. I don't know what it's going to take, but I actually do know some of what it's going to take because I've been through so much adversity.
Yeah.
So then, and that's when I began my real journey. So I was probably like 19 years old when I was like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
And then what was the first like paid gig or kind of legit gig?
In porn or my art? No, okay. I think it was like, I'd done a couple of jobs inside during Art Center. I had a guy who really liked my work. So he was buying some originals. But when I got out of school, it was storyboarding because I was really good at drawing. So I got so obsessed with drawing and painting, drawing specifically, that I got really good at drawing, classically. Because I was like, oh, I'm not good enough at classical drawing. And then basically I became like I taught at USC as a classical figure artist for years. And so that's kind of, I got so good at drawing, or good enough to where I could really create storyboards, and then I did movie comps for the movie industry, and then I started doing stuff that I really liked, and I started getting gigs as an artist for New Deal doing skateboard graphics.
Oh, okay.
That was like the beginning, and then that skateboard graphic stuff kind of led me into record cover stuff, and I did like Saphir Hobo Junction, I did the Quad City DJs, I did a bunch of like compilations, then I started getting into animation. I did
Quad City DJs was Big Beat, wasn't it?
What's
Big Beat Records?
Yeah, that was I did
Yeah, the train.
Come on, Ride the Train.
Wasn't that?
What is that beat, by the way? Come on, Ride the Train.
Fuck. I can't
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that one,
I
keep trying to figure out what that was. Come on, baby.
I can't remember.
That one always, and every time I look it up, it's got like 8,000 references, and I just can't figure out which one it is. So I did all that, and then I started doing animation because it was like closely related. I figured out how to paint and animate, and so I got the Lyricist Lounge gig for the MTV's Lyricist Lounge show. You know, and I started doing more mainstream stuff. Did the Slum Village video, Tainted. You know, like I started to work in animation, and then I at the same time I was doing posters, and that's when things really took off for me. Is when I was doing my posters, and I was kind of gathering a following of people who love my posters.
And how do you sell posters? Like, how's that market?
I just had a distributor in New York who was selling prints, and when I started in the early '90s, it was basically just mom and pop poster shops. And then late '90s, you had
I forgot there were poster shops.
I know. So you had the extinction of the poster shops, and basically Burlington Coat Factory, Bed Bath & Beyond, Z Gallery, Prints Plus. You had all the chains, and Target. Target was my main buyer.
Wow.
So that's actually what catapulted me.
Remember
into
that
the
shit? Those
mainstream.
big like the big metal frames. That,
You would just flip through it. Yeah, it was like,
wow, I forgot all about it.
Yeah, or you would flip through it on top, and it was just a different world. Like you would have rock and roll posters and all these posters.
Yeah.
And then the big box stores came in and said, we're going to just take that market over because it's probably a good amount of revenue we can generate. They started doing that, and luckily I rode that wave. So I was kind of riding the independent wave internationally. And then the big box stores came in, and a lot of artists just went away. But Target and Z Gallery, they all picked up my work, especially my DJ print.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm at 3,500 stores. So it's like way better than the mom and pops could move it.
Yeah.
So that was a long wave that I rode.
Nice.
And that's kind of what got me a lot of the popularity, is just being at Target and Bed Bath & Beyond and Burlington Coat Factory, and those spots were just like, that was it.
Yeah.
That wave.
I've never been inside a Burlington Coat Factory, but I picture this like warehouse full of coats, like that's just the name.
I don't even know how they're selling art, but I
feel
guess
like
they
it's
are.
cold outside,
and you gotta
walk
go in there.
and there's just the fucking woodsman jackets, like
it's like
stocked up to the ceiling.
I really don't think I've been to one either, but I know they sold my work.
That's dope. It's hard to imagine buying the DJ poster out of Burlington Coat Factory.
I know, it was selling there.
Yeah.
And so that poster, by the way, is the #1 selling art print of our era.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was because of all of the mainstream stores, which don't do that anymore. They're selling mostly images that they license for free from China.
Is that right?
So all the artists that they had to pay, that kind of went. So that changed too, and then I just got off it. It was like, okay, well, that's done.
So how does that change the game for you when that poster takes off and your popularity grows, and like, is there a day when like the phone starts ringing, or like what happens? Is the change? Here's the question: is the change more internal, or is it more external?
It's both.
Yeah.
Internally, you feel a certain validation and justification,
Yeah.
And I think at the same time, but I'm doing a million projects because I'm not, at this point, I'm successful enough to where my career's going well, but I'm like, oh, there's other avenues. So I'm like doing a show on Comedy Central called Urbania. That was an animated show that I did actually in 2 different iterations, 10 years apart, both of which they picked up and dropped. And then
Welcome to TV.
And then 2 years ago, I'm doing Street Art Throwdown on Oxygen, the first ever reality competition street art show. So it's like, I've always been, did a show with IFC, did a show, with Ovation, I just like.
That was the DMC thing?
The DMC thing, yeah. But I also hosted like 100 American Revolutionary shows. So I've done a lot of that stuff, and then advertising stuff, and but at the end of the day, it always comes down to my art, and that's really where I make my living. So my fine art.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, that's the main hustle? Like most of the revenue comes from
everything else
prints, originals.
Mostly originals.
Yeah.
And if you add up my money, my entire career, my real bread and butter always is original sales. Just always original sales, no matter how well my posters are doing. I always have that, I have a very weird consumer. I have a very wealthy person Like
me.
I have, like what?
Like me.
Like you.
Yeah.
Do you need to buy my art now that you said
Apparently.
that? Okay. So I have Neo, I have President Clinton, I have
Okay.
people like that who have money. And then I have like skateboard kids and b-boys who can't really afford anything but a $20 poster.
Right.
So, but I don't have that middle ground consumer, the like $5,000 to $12,000 consumer, which is strange. I have a very like tchotchke, like I could really just afford very little things, or I could afford a big ticket item. That's kind of my audience.
What does Clinton have?
He has just a bunch of pieces in his. He had it in the Harlem office. He had a piece in his Arkansas library. And Neo has, I don't know, 10 pieces. Tony Parker, Eva Longoria. I mean, I have a lot of those kind of. They have, they make good livings and they have money. And then I have a lot of people who are like, guys who started Facebook and that kind of that kind of art collector. But and most of my collectors are like people that come to my Art for the People shows or people that don't want to spend more than $50.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
That's my main consumer, and that's because I generated that audience during the Target Burlington Go Factory years.
Right.
Where you can get a Bua canvas for $50, or you can go to my stuff on college sales was even bigger. And you go to college and you get a Bua poster for $15-20.
Yeah.
And that's how people know my work.
So do
And I
you
love
think
that.
of all that other stuff as marketing for your fine art, or
Yeah,
is that?
I do.
Yeah.
And I think I've taken a lot of heat for that.
Why?
Well, the gallery world's like, well, we don't like the fact that you sell prints. and
Overexposed.
Yeah,
or whatever.
multiples overexposed. Like, who cares? Like, you can't get Starry Night by Van Gogh. Why is that different?
Yeah.
You can't get Shepard Fairey's, like, Obama piece or Banksy's, whatever that thing is. He's throwing the bouquet of flowers. I mean, like, really?
Yeah.
Art is for the people, by the people, of the people. And I've always considered my artist, because of where I'm from, for the people. And I'm bringing it to you directly.
Well, I mean, I think the gallery world they're just pretty out of touch with.
I think so. And I've been able to circumvent that audience,
Yeah.
that world, and go right to the consumer. And that's why I do my Art for the People shows. So that's what I do. I just go right to the consumer.
That's amazing. That's such a fascinating story. There had to have been times when you were like just ready to hang it up. Like you question yourself. And
a lot.
Yeah.
But
What?
a lot of my hustle's been very businessy. Like, I've had to figure out the matrix and the politics and the dynamics of how art works and the business of art. It's a very hard thing to figure out, and constantly reinvent and change and transform and go to different platforms. I know if I have a TV platform, that's going to push my art. I know if I have a radio show, which I had at Sirius, that's going to push my art. And but I think over the years I've understood that at the end of the day, people love me for my art. They don't love me because I'm a host. They don't love me because I can do animation. They love me because they can connect to my paintings.
Yeah.
And so to always know that and not delude yourself and be like, well, I'm actually a great actor. And have like Eddie Murphy-itis, or like where it's like, he's this incredible comic actor, but all of a sudden he's like singing "My Girl Likes to Party" all the time. It's like, are you okay? What's wrong with you? Or Michael Jordan, who's like playing baseball, or Shaq, who's an actor and a singer. It's like everybody who's great at something wants to be something else, and I understand that. There's a painter by the name of Jean-Dominique Ang, who was one of the greatest painters of all time. He was the teacher of Degas, actually, and the student of Jacques-Louis David. So he's like comes from like the greatest school of classical painters, and he was a neoclassicist. And he used to go to his own shows and play the violin. And he was such a mediocre violinist that people would have to fucking sit there as a captive audience, literally, and go like, I can't believe I have to go through this motherfucker's violin shit. But he did it because he loved to do that, because he was such a great painter.
Yeah.
They came to his show to see the painting, but he was like, okay, here's my moment.
Sure.
And he would play some violin shit that he thought he was great at because he was delusional. But I've noticed that almost most great people like to do other shit because people are like, they're not one-dimensional and they have many voices. And they're not great at it. John Lennon was an artist, quote unquote.
Right.
And don't be deluded that he was good. He was not fucking good.
I remember feeling that way when I saw Jonathan Winter's paintings.
Oh.
That like he paints like he's 5 years old.
Right.
Like,
Well, but most people, like, have you noticed James Franco thinks he's an artist?
No,
You
I haven't
fucking
seen that.
high. Like,
yeah.
just because you're an actor
I
doesn't
can't believe
mean
he thinks he's an actor.
right. Well, there you go. So like,
But I think you're right. I think it's two things. It's
know your lane.
Because I've known a lot of people like that. Like one is that you do get, I don't want to say bored, right? But you get restless. I think if you have crossed the threshold of creativity, right? Like where you're not afraid to create and put that out there, or you're afraid but you do it anyway, right? Like then all these other ideas come to you, right? And you go, oh, well, I couldn't do that. I sucked at that at one point, but I did it anyway and I got good. So why can't I do that again, right? And so I think that's part of it. And then I think the other part is the business side of like, someone's going to pay me to DJ.
gotta do it.
Fuck yeah, I'll DJ, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. I mean, today's age, everybody has a hustle.
Yeah.
You know, like my friend Mike Murder he's an incredible b-boy. He dances with Super Crew. He's really good at jujutsu, but he makes money DJing. It's like everybody's got 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, look at you. You have a radio show.
Yeah.
And you do this for the love of it. You're not getting rich off of this, but you run a marketing company.
Yeah.
So that's where you make your money, and that's where you do your hustle, so that you can also do the shit you love to do. And you
Right.
probably do other shit too. You know? Do you? I don't know.
What you need?
What's that?
What you need?
Exactly, but that right,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like you'd probably do other things, and
Yeah.
like Eddie Bravo.
You do what you got to do.
Eddie Bravo's a great example. Jiu-Jitsu master, Jiu-Jitsu teacher, brand, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. There's
Yeah.
like 70 schools around America, but he wants to be a rock star. The guy's been playing
Right.
music forever.
Sure.
That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, and part of it is that a certain number of people come see you because of who you are,
Sure.
right?
And you can piggyback that. It's
Right.
I just think it's really important to know your lane. So for me in my career, I've always been like, oh shit, reality check. I better go back to painting. And actually that's what spiritually makes me the most grounded. You know, like in the end of the day, it's my meditation, it's my love, it's what I connect to in my deepest truth.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I have to always go back to that.
So much, back to what we were saying at the beginning, and I think of your art as so musical, and so, specifically jazz and hip hop and this sort of Afrocentricity that comes through on the canvas. And some of that I think is, there's a timeless aspect to that, but there's also very some of that's rooted in a specific sort of eras, right? And so how does that change? How does your style evolve? And how are you influenced by, the greater cultural changes around you?
Well, I'm going through that now. Like, what's the next iteration of what I want to do? Because, I was the first artist to paint the narratives of hip hop, the b-boy, the MC, the DJ, the graffiti writer, and to mass produce it. People know me as that. I kind of broke it open and I said, "Why? This is a great subject to paint. Why not? This is what I grew up around. I'm just painting these nascent moments of early days of hip hop when it was a burgeoning culture."
So
Then, no, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say something stupid.
Say something stupid.
So now you're painting like the Instagram star. the
No, I'm not.
Snapchatter.
Like, that's the funny thing. Like, then I moved to like, well, I love hip hop so much. I want to do the 50 greatest legends of hip hop in my new book with HarperCollins. And so I
Yeah.
painted like, all of the people like Mr. Wiggles and Crazy Legs and Kool Herc and, Kumo D, all the way to like Wu-Tang and Tribe and Jay-Z. So I did that. And I was like, okay, well, no offense, but I'm sick of that. Like, what am I going to do now? And I thought about, like, should I paint the pop stars? And I've certainly done jobs where I've painted like Justin Timberlake and Beyonce, but it's not like what I want to do. And so right now I'm kind of figuring out what's the next level of what I want to do, and I'm kind of working that out. I love to draw, I love to paint, I love to draw classically, I love to paint classically. No one really wants to buy my nude figures. No one even knows it's out there. I don't care. It's for me. I do it for me, not for anybody. I have a crazy library of erotic art that I would like to release, like just the collected unconscious Bua, which is fun stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe I do more of that. Maybe I don't know. Like, I also really just like painting the average kind of working person. That's kind of what I grew up around. I grew up in the streets of New York, and I hung out with some just interesting, crazy people, and that's what I like. I don't like to paint the aristocracy. That's not my jam, as people say. I fucking hate when people say that too. I don't know why, it just bugs me. That's my jam. Really? That's cool.
I kind of like that.
I know, he's fine.
Because it's evocative of like, because
shittiness. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's like because we used to say that when we were 9.
Oh, okay.
And then
right.
Now
it's come back. Well, I think that like, I don't know, the next iteration, but there's always something, like Picasso had his Rose period, then he had his Blue period, then he had his Cubist period, then he had his like, etchings of Greek mythology period, and then he had his sculpture, and then he did his futurism, then he did his, he's just like ever evolving, and I feel like as an artist you really have to be ever evolving. In anything, like Madonna was always evolving. That's why she was so current and contemporary. Most artists can't do that. Unfortunately, most artists can't. I think that there's something futuristic about my work in a back in the days way. You know what I mean? So like I've liked to think that I created a Bua-fied lens that I've seen the world that other people can relate to.
That's really cool.
So I feel like it's now, but it's then and it's future. So it's because it encompasses a lot of shit that I've always felt was cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's hip hop and jazz, and it's Afrocentric, and it's musical, which is timeless, and it's got a rhythm and energy of dance, which is timeless, and then the characters. So I don't really know what the next iteration is, but I know that I better do it soon or I'll be homeless.
Well, I mean, that seems like such a hard thing to do, and I think to evolve your style, right? I mean, I think
it's natural though.
It's hard
I feel
for
like
anybody, like for any, whether you're an artist or not, right? It's hard to evolve. We're seeing that play out right now, that people don't want to change and progress.
And then you get forgotten. That's okay too.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you have your vision and that's your vision.
Or you get elected president.
Yeah, he evolved to president.
Exactly.
From moron to president.
So I think the challenge for an artist is like bringing your audience with you, right? And
sure, and getting a new one.
Yeah.
And that's, people are going to rediscover my DJ painting forever. I would hope that in 200 years, people are like, oh shit, check this shit out. Much like I've discovered Dali. Like, oh wow, check it out. Dali did that fucking painting like forever ago. And you're like, for the first time, you see the persistence of time, and you're like, oh my God, look at that. Or Hieronymus Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights. You're like, oh my God, look at that. Everyone has that moment where hopefully it's classical enough to where it's always going to hit the next generation because it's timeless. My voice really went high when I said timeless. I felt that. It's timeless.
That's good.
I want to point that out.
That's emphasis.
So that everybody else out there who's listening is not like, oh my God, he should really be self-aware of that. And I am, actually. How about fucking that? I'm self-aware of how high that sounded and how shitty it was. That's okay. I don't always have a perfect pitch voice. I go high sometimes and I sound like shit. Fucking piece of shit, my voice sometimes.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Well, I got to point it out.
We're definitely not editing that out. Hey, so have you had mentors that have helped you along the way, or are you figuring this out all on your own?
No.
Besides the teachers that tell you that you suck.
Yeah, no, I've had good teachers. I have a guy by the name of Gregory Wirkitan. He's in his 70s, one of the best draftsmen that's ever lived. He's like this Filipino white dude who's like out of control good. Like, I can't even believe how well he draws still. It's like makes me sick. He's a mentor of my friend Ruben Hickman, who's at Paramount. He used to DreamWorks for years, working on Shrek and a billion movies as a visual developer. He's my best friend. So he's kind of like a great teacher. Like he
what do you get out of that?
He just shows me. He's always evolving, and he's just smart, and he just knows. Art is so deep. Like he understands color better than me, and he understands like like design better than me, understands like so many things to such a high level that just being around him through osmosis and just through like if I bring a painting and say, what do you think? You go, that's cool, but try this, you know. So I have those people that are around me that are going to give it to me like it is. Just like with business, I've had a business partner who's a lawyer for over 20 years who just gives it to me straight. Like I showed him 2 flyers I designed today for my show in Oakland. And I said, which one do you like better? He goes, neither. And here's why. And okay, well, he said, hey man, I'm going to give it to you. I don't care. I'm still going to use them, by the way, because I'm not a graphic designer and I don't want to change it.
Right.
I'm just not going to change it at this stage. It's just a fucking flyer. But the point is, he keeps it real. And so I like those people around me, and I don't care. Like, it doesn't affect me.
Man, people find it so hard to do that. And I've struggled with that for years, to give people really direct, honest feedback, right? And,
but it's fine. I think people need it.
And, you know, it took me many, many times of doing that and having people appreciate it to kind of sink in that that's actually, like, needed and wanted.
Right.
You know, and I see that every, you know, certainly in business and personal relationships, I see it constantly, that just nobody wants to tell each other the truth.
I think ultimately what I've learned in my life on this planet is that the truth is just easier in the end. I'm sorry, babe. I just got AIDS from a prostitute. I'm in love with her. I gave it to you as well. But this is the truth. That's a lot easier.
Here's the upside. Yeah, that sounds easier.
No, it is so much easier, though, just to be honest. Like, in the end of the day, what can you do with that? You can be angry at it. You could hate it. But at the end of the day, if it just kind of unravels itself in another way, it's just shitty. So, you know, I think the truth is easier. Picasso said art is a lie that makes us see the truth. You know, it's you're creating a lie, a two-dimensional lie, which is the truth is 2 dimensions. The lie is that it's 3D. You know, David Blaine is doing his magic. You're like, he's creating this lie. You know, like, but people believe it's the truth. You know.
I mean, that's interesting. Like, if we think about, you know, coming out of this election season, where, like, this whole relationship we have to the truth.
Yeah, Donald Trump never told the truth. 70%, the fact checked is 70% of everything he said was a lie.
Right.
But he said the things that people wanted to hear as truth. He studied all the Midwestern radio shows, all the conservative radio stations. He learned what people wanted to hear the most. Immigration, deportation, global warming, whatever those hot button ticket items were. And he went off on it. As opposed to Hillary, who didn't really hit. Now, it wasn't whether it was people's truths. People wanted to hear that, and he gave them what they wanted to hear.
And that's the thing, right? And you know, so the argument that I have been having with you know, liberals for the last year is that, like, all you're saying is that he's lying,
right?
But nobody cares. Like, it doesn't matter that he's lying because he's saying stuff that people want to hear.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, the average liberal person is just so angry, but they're not doing anything about it.
Right.
Like, just so do something about it. Like, just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, now everyone's like fearful. Like, oh my God, it's happened.
Well, now there's protests in the streets, which is like.
But what is that doing?
Where the fuck were you?
Right, and what is that going to do? Like, what can we really do? So I think that if you really think about what can you actually do? Can you make a painting that is speaking your truth, as opposed to, I just don't like to get stuck in a fearful headspace of like, oh, this is terrible, it's so fearful, because then you're victimizing yourself.
Right.
And it's not proactive.
Well,
so, like,
and I imagine for you, like, you can't create out of fear.
You know, I feel like I've been vegan for 17 years, and so I feel like my daughter is 12 years old, she's born and raised vegan. I don't subscribe to the meat and dairy industry at all. Like, I don't give them my money. I feel like it's a vicious industry. I'm not perfect. I do other shit that's probably less than excellent. But just because you drive a Prius doesn't make you an activist, you know? And I feel like a lot of the liberals are like, yeah, drive a fucking Prius.
Yeah, that's your badge.
Yeah, as they flip you off and cut you off. Like which is, if you guys drive a Prius, it's fine. It's just totally cool. Does it come with a tampon or? No, I'm kidding. But I feel like, you know, I think that we We have to do more, and maybe Trump has done the greatest thing, which is awakened us up, because I feel like we get stuck in mediocrity. And even Picasso said, I would rather be a shitty artist than a mediocre one. Like that half, like that. It's the Jewish equivalent of, right?
Yeah,
like what?
I agree. I think that's
like
the
just
worst.
Do it. Like have
Yes.
conviction, or
Suck
don't.
at it.
Or don't. Then that's okay. Like,
Right.
fuck this. Fuck this. Like there were so many liberals who just threw their votes away, or so many people that didn't vote,
Right.
or so many people that just were like, I'm going to vote for Trump. It's like, okay,
Right.
well, look, I campaigned for Bill Clinton early on. I was like one of those like wacko door-to-door campaigners, and I did a lot of shit for the Obama movement, you know, all the big shows with Shepard, and I did like, I don't know, something like I handed out 5,000 free posters of Obama. I did everything. With Hillary, you know, I just voted. You know what I mean? But I was, I believe that, like, and all of my liberal friends, oh, she's such a liar. She's a liar. She's a liar. It's like, but you're so stuck on that.
Right.
Like nobody even knows the truth. You know what I mean? Everyone's bought into this hype. And same thing with Donald Trump. Like, yeah, he's got some horrible policies. But I think at the end of the day, do you really believe that he even believes that? Or did he just use that to get elected?
Right. Yeah, who knows?
Don't forget, Mark Burnett crafted him. You know, he's slick as fucking shit.
Yeah.
He's got no matter how stupid he is, he's got some serious, like, slickster business savvy and reality television savvy.
No question.
And he hasn't done anything horrible yet.
Right.
So until he does,
I mean, he's not.
like this, let's
To be
wait.
fair, he's not even in office.
He's not even in office. Right. The debriefing is going to be amazing, by the way.
So here's
like Obama,
right?
Having to debrief him.
Oh, I think
Obama being a super intellectual, articulate dialectician, having to debrief. Like, okay, so we're going to get into the Russian economics, and he's going to be like, what the fuck is that? I know Obama's going to be like, oh shit, it's going to be a long fucking day. God damn it.
So what is, you know, what's that going to do to our art and music? Like, because I think, you know, hip hop is in some ways a direct result of Reaganomics.
I think
it's a direct result of, you know,
I think it's a good point.
The failure of integration to kind of live up to its promise, right?
And you know, society's system to take care of the people.
Absolutely.
They're kind of forgotten.
Like all these things gave birth to hip hop as a cultural movement.
Sure. What is Trump going to do? I don't know. I don't know, like, if hip hop hasn't become too intertwined with pop and money,
for sure,
to be a viable communicator of the times.
Yeah, I think it probably has, but maybe there's some next thing.
Yeah, I guess it's not.
Right.
My point is that it's not hip hop. It's something else that we don't know what it is. What's the next iteration? I don't know. I'd have to tell you to have to go live in East Flatbush or New Orleans or somewhere where like shit's happening, because I live in my bubble in Echo Park, so I don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm at the Jujutsu school and I'm painting all the time. That's
I mean, it's pretty nice in the bubble. I think.
But as you get older, you're more in a bubble.
Yeah, of
like
course.
I'm just not like my ear's not to the streets. Like sometimes I see the new kids. Like sometimes I go to b-boy things or stuff like that, and I see the new dancers. I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck's happening right now? It's like next level shit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people see that with rap and all kinds of shit. It's like there's some next level shit, and we catch it. We catch it on the radio when it becomes big. Yo, you heard this new mumble rap, and whether you like it or hate it, and people, I know my whole friend base is so anti.
Yeah, of course.
But I like it.
That's only because it's garbage.
Panda.
Hey, come on, stop.
No, I like it. Why? I mean, I think the beats are.
Who are some new artists that you're fucking with? No, like
the Panda
visual
thing
artists. No, visual artists.
You don't even want to delve into that. You hate mumble rap so much, right? It's because it's a diametric opposition to.
No,
music.
we're gonna lose the studio. But I want to hear.
My visual artists that I love.
Yeah.
That are painting today.
Yeah, like new cats. Young. Who's the next?
God, there's
next level, next generation.
There's a classical artist named Jeremy Lipking who's so good that it hurts my feelings because he's so classical, and his work is so beautiful. I don't know. I like Ralph Steadman, who's still alive, thank God.
Sure.
Who's illustrated all the Hunter S. Thompson stuff. I used to be pen pals with him, and I have handwritten letters from him. I love him so much because I can't believe how creative he is.
Yeah.
And that's the difference of draftsmanship and creativity. He's so creative. I can't believe the things he can think of. Like that boggles my mind. Like I think I sit there and go, oh, I wish I was that creative. And that alone is such an uncreative act, by the way.
Of course.
And then Jeremy Lipking's so technical. I go like, oh my God, I can't believe how technical he is. There's so many. There's a guy named Red Rabbit on Instagram who I can't believe how good he is. Like, I just hit people on Instagram, and I just sometimes I'm just like, it blows my mind. I mean, 99% of the stuff out there is just derivative and it's just shitty.
Of course.
But yeah, no, I see people all the time like Red Rabbit and Jeremy Lipking, Ralph Steadman, who are just so fucking good that it's just, that's the kind of people I like. That like it makes me feel chills.
Okay, I have a little speed round. I have to go before we wrap up.
Go.
So if you can go back and give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
Don't deviate from your true path. Like stay in the pocket, and pick your lane and stay with it. So like all the hosting, the TV, the film, the music videos, all that stuff, I would never do it again. Yeah. I would be a better painter.
Okay.
Which is what I'm kind of gonna do now in my life.
Okay.
I'm just gonna try to get better.
Sure.
There's not much time.
Yeah. What did you used to believe and then later realized you'd been wrong?
That condoms worked? No, I'm kidding. Oh my God, that's like that goes to like a moral. Yeah. I think that would be the truth. Telling the truth. That's good. I was an amazing liar. Amazing liar. I lied my entire life to survive New York, to hustle, and I learned that was the truth. And now to tell the truth. Yeah. I think that's the greatest thing.
Is there some other talent you always wish you had more of?
Yes, I wish I played music.
Yeah.
I played piano mediocrely, which, as we all know from this interview, mediocrity is the worst thing you could do.
Would that be your instrument if you were?
Yes, piano for sure, by far. Guitar is the worst on your fingers. It hurts me.
Oh yeah, it hurts.
I took guitar lessons. I never got good.
Yeah. Me too. So what's the next goal that you want to accomplish?
I want to be a TV star. No, I'm kidding. I want to be a better painter. I really feel like right now is an opportunity for me to know my true purpose, to find divinity with God, to find harmony with God, is to become I know my purpose and to really know it deeper.
How will you know when you're a better painter?
My mom will tell me because she hates everything I do. I swear to God.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's another, if you knew you couldn't fail, what other career would you take on?
If I couldn't fail?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a really good actor, and I feel like I could do that really well. Although as I've gotten older, I've realized I can't memorize any lines, so it'd have to be off the cuff acting. I'd have to be I'd have to be in Woody Allen movies, or like Larry David movies where it's all improv, or Mike Leigh film where it's all improv.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I couldn't. My daughter can read 20 pages and recite it verbatim, and I can't read 2 lines and remember them. That's why on TV I was great at teleprompter, great at cue cards, great at an earpiece, and great at improv. And when it came to a script, I'm actually the worst person I've ever known in my life.
That's hilarious.
It's shocking how bad I am.
Yeah.
My retention capacity is despicable.
Do you collect stuff? What do you collect?
Well, I'm on the United States Stamp Committee.
Okay.
So I'm starting to collect stamps. I'm not a philatelist, but I'm one of 10 people that choose America's stamps.
Seriously?
Yeah, I go to DC 4 times a year, and there's 10 of us that choose. Any stamp you see, I've chosen it.
That's cool.
So, or I've been part of the process.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to collect a little bit of stamps because it's so cool, and then I collect art. I collect other artists' art.
Yeah.
I collect my friend Reuben Hickman's art and other Jennifer McChristian and other people.
What's the last great book you read?
I don't read anymore.
No.
I stopped reading. I just listen to audiobooks. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. Yeah.
They're all like spiritual books on relationships. That's all they are.
Is there a title?
The Superior Man by David Dieta.
Oh yeah,
It's a good book.
I haven't finished it.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I think. I do that. Like, that's kind of like I'm on a spiritual path to be a better human being as
Sure.
well. And you know, I already figured out how to be a great dad.
Yeah.
But and obviously
important.
that's a work. Yeah, that's my main goal in life is was not a good husband, not a good boyfriend, and trying to be a better person to have a partner come into my life, just like
Yeah.
I am with my daughter. I have a great relationship with her.
Yeah, that's huge. What movie do you think you've seen the most?
Probably Manhattan by Woody Allen.
Wow.
Or Brazil by Terry Gilliam.
Oh wow. That's not a.
Or Zoolander by Ben Stiller. Those three I've seen so many times. And The Other Guys, which is so weird.
The other guys?
Yeah, with
with
Wahlberg,
Mark Wahlberg.
and Will Ferrell. Yeah, I've seen that because my daughter loves that one and she loves Zoolander. Zoolander might have won at this stage. God, I've seen Zoolander so
Isn't
many
that funny?
times. I don't want to say I've seen Beach Street because I was in it.
Right.
Did I mention I was in Beach Street?
Did you watch it over and over?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm only in the Roxy
When
scene.
girls come over, and you're like, hey,
Did you know I was in? Did
Oh,
you know I
this-
starred as an extra in Beach Street? You starred in it? I starred in it. Forget the other part, but I
Right.
starred in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Beach Street. No
That's
big
awesome.
deal. Beach Street.
Favorite DJ of all time?
DJ Kubert. I painted him. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him so much, and he's like me. Like, he's such a worker, trying to get better. He knows he's not good enough. He's always getting better.
Yeah.
He's such a crazy DJ, like, chemist.
Yeah.
Like, because I know him so well and what he does, it's so crazy.
I mean, it's so amazing you say that. I mean, I love Kubert, and you know, but like the idea that, like, there are so many shitty DJs out there
Oh
that
my
are
God.
so pleased with themselves.
Oh my God, it's
And
disgusting.
then that a guy like that, like, knows that he's not good enough.
Oh my God, he
It's-
calls me at 4 a.m, like, yo, what do you think of orange? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I think orange is like the new way that's affecting my scratching. Listen to that. Did you think that was orange? I'm like, are you, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But that's the shit he's on. He's like, I just feel like I'm kind of scratching this color. Like, do you feel orange from that, or is it more? And you're like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to get better at it. I'm not. I gotta go. Then he's practicing. He's that guy.
Yeah.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
And he's Filipino.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Where does everybody find you online?
Instagram, Justin Bua, JUSTINBUA. Facebook is just BUA at Bua. But Instagram's really where I live and where I kind of post all the really new, cool stuff. And the fun stuff too, the erotic stuff, the stupid stuff, the wild stuff.
Nice. Okay, that was my man Bua with some valuable lessons, some good stories. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio. We have Trey from The Far Side, also Trey from Trademark, the new collaboration with DJ Newmark, coming up next week.